Goodbye Zettabyte and hello Yottabyte. What? Yeah, we're talking storage with our next guest, and pretty amazing amounts of storage and capacities and all sort of thing. We'll find out what all that means from our next guest, who's with a company behind HP's brand of personal storage and memory devices, the Marketing and Alliances Director for North America and EU. Yeah, he's got most of the world there to deal with. For BIWIN Storage Technology is Bob Snyder. Bob, welcome into Tomorrow. How are you? And thanks for joining us here in Berlin.
Thanks, Dave. It's always great to be back in Berlin.
Yes, for sure. We frequently say that it's our favorite remote broadcast of the world, and we, before the pandemic and whatever we were dealing with the last couple of years, as you know, like yourself, you travel a lot, and you visit a lot of trade shows and so forth. This has always been our favorite, because not only are there very cool products and very cool people to interact with and network with, but it's a great city.
It's a great city, and the city reflects the show in the sense that the show is so international, and I like Berlin because it's also a very international city.
Yes.
And with all the different flavors of restaurants and opportunities that you have.
And we talk about the fact that even though most other cities around Europe don't like it, but we say it's almost kind of the capital of Europe, in a sense, because of financial and restaurants and just everything else going on.
And the history.
Of course.
It's a symbol as well as everything else.
Good point. Good point. So now, in your introduction, we talked about goodbye Zettabyte and hello Yottabyte. Let's talk about the bytes. And oh my gosh, are we getting to a point where we're that much in byte storage?
Well, I think that's the case, and I think it's gone almost undetected by folks, and I thought it worth highlighting today. For example, the Exabyte era we entered some time ago, and it's a measurement of how much 10 to the 24, how much storage that we're eating up regularly. And Cisco monitored it, and Cisco brought to everybody's attention we're entering the Exabyte era. But where we've failed, I think, is to understand that era is now accelerating. Dramatically accelerating for three big reasons. One is the fact that companies have to go digital. The digital transformation of corporations.
Yeah.
We also have the industrial equivalent, which is the industrial. They call it in Germany here the 4.0. The digital transformation of industry, and then on the personal storage side, we have millions of content creators who are going out in the world and becoming podcasters, bloggers, vloggers, and
sorry about that. Yeah. But we can relate by all means. I mean, we've been doing podcasts for years before they ever became podcasts.
Before they called them podcasts.
Yeah, remember Real Audio back in the day? Since we've been on the air for 27 years, that's how we archived our shows back then, so that audience with having a radio station nearby them could still hear into tomorrow. And then this thing called podcast came about. It's like, well, we've already been doing that. I guess now we have to call them podcasts. But good point. There's just so much, and it certainly lends itself to the storage needs.
Yeah, and this is where it gets interesting. So the Exabyte era will continue, but it's accelerating. So it's going to finish probably by the end of the decade. At the end of the decade, we will have spent 16 years in the Exabyte era, and what comes next is the Yottabyte era. It's 10 times the 27, so it's a huge jump.
And so it's not Yoda, like as in
Yoda,
the movie. It's Yotta.
That's
byte,
right.
BYTE, right? Yotta.
That's right.
And how much is a Yottabyte?
Well, let me put it this way. When all the world's greatest data scientists came together to make the association to determine what to call numbers, the upper limit of their imagination was Yottabyte.
That was the upper limit.
We don't have a name for where we go to after Yottabyte.
So we don't know beyond that what we're going to call.
No.
Oh my gosh.
And instead of spending 16 years like we did in the Exabyte era, because it's speeding up, they're predicting we're only going to be 8 years in the yottabyte era. But my prediction is, because of these three big trends that I mentioned, is that we're going to be less than 8 years, and we're going to find ourselves in an era of such immense data, and we have no human imagination, to describe how much data that is that we're consuming.
And I mean, and it sounds like the whole zettabyte thing was, well, that can't be any bigger than that. It's the last letter of the alphabet, right?
Yes.
And then they went backwards to
backwards.
to yottabyte.
Yes.
I mean, it just sounds, first of all, it hurts my brain to think about how much storage is being utilized around the world. And like you said, forget 8 years, got to be considerably less than that.
It's going to be considerably
And then
less.
what do we do?
Yep. And then what do we do? So those scientists, will come together and convene. There's all sorts of suggestions out there. I don't want to mention Brontobytes, but they have all sorts of names that sound a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they will probably have to come together to find a new name, because they never imagined that we would have this much data.
Yeah. I mean, yottabytes was something that it was the farthest reach they could come up with.
It's like saying Pluto, if you're talking about planets in the solar system. It's the outermost thing we could get to.
Wow.
And so that's driving the storage industry, and I think it's something that's an important story to know about.
Yeah.
And at BIWIN, we have the official license to manufacture HP personal storage.
Okay.
So
and when we talk about, Bob, personal storage, we tend to think as consumers like, oh, so you must mean like on my phone, especially because I'm always running out of space no matter how much I get with a phone. I'm taking pictures, I'm doing videos, I'm blogging, I'm using anti-social media, whatever, but I'm filling up my phone. Well, it's a lot more than just your phone for personal storage.
Oh, absolutely.
And you need to back things up. We have a regular thing on the show every single week where we remind everybody to back up your important data. And people tell us, I'm glad you do that because I forget. And, your financial stuff and your pictures, and all of a sudden I'm out of room. But it's a good thing. Into Tomorrow reminded us to back up our personal data, and not just on premise. No. Not just at your home or office. Make sure you use a cloud. Make sure you put a copy at grandma's house. Because it is so important.
Yeah. Well, we actually went the other way, but we got to the same place. I mean, I'm a former journalist, so I came out of the press. So what happens is that you lean towards the cloud, and then you discover there's certain problems with the cloud. My cloud provider somehow didn't capture everything I needed, and I lost a lot of that. So we went back to, from cloud back to physical devices. But either way you go, you need to have two types of backup, and one is recommended cloud and one is recommended physical.
Well, the other issue with the cloud is that they just want to keep charging you more money.
Yes.
And, fine, you keep uploading your photos, by all means, keep doing it. Oh, and here's an extra charge. And most people say, well, wait a minute, I'm paying a fortune. And what do I have to do now from the cloud is delete a bunch of stuff, which is the problem you had on your phone or your tablet or your laptop. That's where actual devices make a difference.
And most of the cloud has, if I can say it, ugly interfaces that don't allow you to search 7 years ago quite easily.
Yeah.
So,
and you may say it because it's accurate.
Yeah.
So the cloud isn't the answer either. I mean, I remember years ago having to explain to our audience too what the cloud is. What does that mean? Where's the cloud? It's just up there. It's in the netherworld.
It's the thing that telecom engineers used to draw when they didn't know where to put something.
Yes.
Draw the little cloud on the
Good point.
diagram.
So then let's talk about devices.
Sure.
So what have you got? I'm seeing HP portable SSD. Man, once you go SSD, you never go back. and I'm sure you've experienced that with all of your customers and folks that just buy up SSD like crazy.
Well, it's the technology that's replacing the old mechanical drives.
Yeah.
And again, there's still purposes for the hard drives, but the flash storage is faster. It gives your computer an ability to start up faster, and it has a great price point these days, which was the thing holding it back years ago. But it's quite attractive. We make internal SSDs, and we have some very good ones, and I think that's one of the things that's going to change. I think a lot more of your audience is going to put storage inside the PCs these days. But I brought today some external storage just to show you the types of things that we do under our official license with HP.
So let's show them as you describe. For example, here's the portable SSD P500. We also have a P600. I'm assuming it's storage capacity between the two, or what makes them different?
No, they're different in design. For
Okay.
example, this is the P600 design, and that's the
Okay.
P500 design, and each one has different capacities. They go up to 2 terabyte. But
Oh, I'm liking this. Now, I've sort of separated it. I almost thought I broke it. But tell the audience who is not yet seeing the video what's inside.
well, it's a P600, and the design is a slightly magnetic case that
Yeah.
pulls apart with a little tension. You feel like you're breaking it.
Yeah,
almost,
but it's very light.
Yeah.
And then, I started to open it, and I went, oh, what did I do? No, there it is.
Yeah. And inside is the cable that you need so that you have the drive in your hand, and the other half is the box for the cable.
Yeah.
And you can carry it with you wherever you go and connect it up to a computer as, external storage, must be, So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool stuff. An adapter if you need it, because plugs are always different these days. You
And I'm
don't have
glad to see
USB.
that it's USB-C.
Yep.
The world is going to.
Yep.
For how long, who knows. But that's very convenient that you have the cable with you, and it's so tiny, it literally fits in your pocket, and
Yep.
it's very easy to deal with. And, of course, you've got the drive as I'm holding. Now I'm holding it up for Israel to take more pictures for the website. So check it all out at intotomorrow.com. But I love this. Yeah, it's slightly magnetic. So there it's back together. And then I can just put this in my pocket. Plus, it's a nice, sleek black finish and smooth and nice. It's the kind of thing you want to have. So this is the P600.
That's
yeah?
the HP P600, yep.
Yep. And then here's the 500,
and the-
slightly different, a little smaller.
It's more for people that like the design feature of it.
Yeah.
It's very light. It's easy. It's extremely portable. The other one is a little heavier duty, but they're both very effective drives that people would like to have.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
And what are we talking in terms of availability and price in U.S. dollars?
Well, they're all on Amazon, but the prices these days are quite attractive for SSDs.
Yeah.
And, there are terabyte drives that you can pick up for $55.
Wow.
I mean,
for a terabyte.
For a terabyte.
Nice.
But the bad news is
How
that
about- how
the
much for-
market's moving to terabytes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. How much for a yottabyte? You don't have that available quite yet.
I think that's NASA's budget.
Yeah, it probably is.
Flash drive for that.
Yes,
so,
at this
yeah.
moment. And availability, you say they're available now.
Yes, they're available now. They're all on Amazon. And again, I think people should also pay attention to the internal solid-state drive, because it used to be, people were scared of opening up their computer, but there's so many things going on in the computers these days.
Yeah.
That you buy a computer and then you realize you don't have as much storage or memory as you need. And both of those are products that we make. We make the DRAM chip as well as the storage.
Oh, good.
And they're quite easy to install and very cost effective today. And if instead of buying a new computer, you move to a 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte solid state drive, the computer starts up faster and performs better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've said it, as I did earlier in this interview with you, is that once you go SSD, you don't go back. And especially for boot up. I mean, if you
Yeah.
change your drive from a hard disk drive to an SSD, you do notice the difference immediately.
Immediately.
I mean, it's like a 6-second boot up, if
Yeah.
that, even on an older machine.
Yeah.
Plus the storage and the access of the data. It's amazing. So Bob Snyder is the Marketing and Alliances Director for North America and the EU for BIWIN Storage Technology. You want to visit hp.biwintech, BIWIN, tech.com. And, of course, we'll get you there when you hit us up at intotomorrow.com. Bob, you're a delight to chat with. And next time we have you on, we'll have a yottabyte. Yeah.
Indeed. Thanks, Dave.
Or at least know what the next one will be called.
We hope they'll meet.
Yeah, I hope they don't select something like Dave Byte, because that just sounds weird,
Or a Bob Byte.
Or Bob Byte, exactly.
Thanks, Dave.
My pleasure. Intotomorrow.com. Be sure to check out all of our videos with all of our guests from Berlin here in Germany for IFA, the 2022 edition, our 20th year, coming to you from IFA. Stay tuned. There's much more to come. I'm Dave Graveline on the Advanced Media Network.